Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be putting together this carburetor for the Yamaha that I was working on in the first video. And later on we'll be putting it on and putting the Yamaha back together. But for now I'm going to show you how to rebuild one of these carburetors, and maybe I'll do it the right way. Usually I do, but I got a cold this time, so probably ain't going to think straight, but I'm behind on stuff and I gotta get something done, so we're gonna give it a try. Here we got the main body, the carburetor, all cleaned up now. The O-ring is in decent shape, so I'm gonna leave him in there for now. But I'm gonna start by putting the emulsion tube and the jets back in it. I got the old stuff here, but I got a kit. About the only good kit you can buy. They're made in Japan. If you can get this kit, you'll probably be okay. The cheap Chinese ones don't never work right. Everything all set out here. Let's see what all it's got. Okay. That does not come with an emulsion tube, but it does come with a main jet. So I'm going to take the main jet out of this one, clean the tube up right quick and put a new seal on it and just reuse it. Alright, finally got it to unscrew. There it is. Now it's a little rough up around the outside, but I didn't damage the sealing surface, so it should still be fine to use if it's needed. Now well, you can see them holes through there, all got to be clear. That one's got two, that one already is. It's pretty rare for that to clog up. And actually, all the side holes are clean too, so I'm just going to give it a little spray off and get the new seal on it, and it should be fine. The entire seal is off, so I'm putting new one on. That's all slide. Well, that might not be all slide stuff. I don't know. I don't believe there's a lot of O-rings on the slide. Oh, I hate these little bags. They're so hard to open. Get some grease for him. That way it don't tear when I put it, when I tighten it down. And I'll get it worked up on there. Thing all greasy. That way it don't tear when I tighten down the tube. Also make putting it on easier. Still gonna be difficult. It's gotta come up over the threads. May have to get a pick so I don't ruin it. Yeah. There we go. One O-ring installed. Check the holes once more, make sure not full of grease. Give that. Alright, took a minute, but got all the grease out of it. Go ahead and put him down in here. Don't want to go too tight on these, it'll break. Just a little snug. They're not going to come out of there, I doubt. They usually stay put pretty well. Okay, no seal on the jet. This is our main. It is a 85. That's the emulsion tube and main jet installed. The emulsion tube is kind of like it's kind of like a vacuum, but a Venturi vacuum. I don't really know how to explain it, but it helps to pull the fuel from the bowl up into the airstream through here as the air is going through the carburetor. It basically pulls the fuel up and helps it atomize to burn better. And the jet, well, controls how much fuel can go up there. Bigger jet, more fuel. You want a bigger jet on a bigger built performance engine. You want a smaller jet on a smaller engine. So, and obviously your idle jet is smaller because it supplies fuel at idle, whereas your main jet supplies fuel at high RPM where you would need more. Here we got the mixture screw, which goes back here, but I gotta get the spring and stuff for it, which is in here. All these tiny little parts, although I don't believe that has anything to do with the mixed screw. The little washer, the little O-ring, and the spring, however, do. And then get a flashlight and make sure nothing's stuck down in the mixed screw passage. It's not. I can see down in there. You get two O-rings in there and they'll never seal. Okay, get all this laid out and build it here. Compare them. They look the same. At least the important parts do. First, you want the spring. Then you want the little flat washer. And then the O-ring. Take that. You put him down in there. Run him all the way down, gently. Don't bottom it out hard, just go down till it bumps. We already bumped. If you tighten these down hard, you'll ruin the end of that pin. You'll make it flatten out like a screwdriver end, or mushroom, or something or other, and then you'll never be able to set your mixture right. So just make sure it's bumped. And then I have it wrote down. Where's it at here? Well, I was supposed to write it down and I've done forgot to write it down. That's a rookie mistake. Always write that down so you know how many turns out. I'm going 2 1/4 because I believe that's what the last one I worked on was, and it was the same size engine from Yamaha, just different year. So half, 1, 1 1/2, 2, and about 2 1/4 right there. That's probably not exactly right, but it's going to be close enough to get it running. You can always adjust that once it's running. And even going to the factory setting might not be exactly right because the engine's worn over the years, the carburetor's worn over the years, the fuel's changed. You probably have to adjust it a little bit anyway. Or, depending on what altitude you're at, you might need a little more or a little less. So, usually around 2 turns and it'll get you close. Now we have the idle jet. Go ahead and get him down in here. Again, no need to get crazy tight, just snug him down. That's what we got so far. And don't worry too much about some of these washers and stuff that don't seem like they go anywhere, because I know some of them are going to go on the slide, and sometimes these kits have parts in them that don't go in the carburetor they say they're for. I've had that several times where I've had a carburetor run just fine, but there's parts left over from the kit. So don't read into it too much. If something runs wrong, then look into what you may have missed. But there's been several times I've gotten more parts in the kit than would go in the carb, and it's been fine. It's ran fine. It's had no issue. So here's a new needle and seat. Pull the needle out. Hey, that's a rarity. Hard tip needle. Usually they're rubber. You can go ahead and get some grease for this as well. That way I don't tear him pushing him down in. There we are, just a light little bit of grease. You don't want so much that it'll contaminate the fuel, but you want enough that it won't tear the O-ring. Just a little bit. And I'm realizing now that I probably have to pull the main jet back out to put this on. Or not. Yeah, that can't go underneath that, so that's where that goes. Some carburetors don't have those. A lot of the earlier ones do, mid-90s and older. I really don't know why, because they got rid of them after that. And I don't know if they really serve a purpose or not, but we'll leave them in there. I believe he gets held in place by a little ring down there in the bowl. So, we'll put him in. Before I go putting that in, I do need to install this plate. This way. Again, I don't know what this plate does either. A lot of carburetors don't have them. A couple do. So, I believe it's a splash plate for fuel slosh. But I don't think it's anything super important because, like I said, a lot of carburetors don't have them. Actually, most don't have them. Go ahead and get this screw run down in. I know on this particular carb, this area of the plate holds down the float seat. I'm not really sure why it comes all the way over here for. It doesn't do anything over there. So I just put it back in. That stuff's all slide and idle, which I probably will not change the idle screw. Those rarely go bad. We can get our float put in. Now, on a lot of carburetors, you want to adjust it so that float here is level with this. So that would be about there. This one's slightly below, but I have not changed the float adjustment, so I'm going to leave it there. And if it doesn't allow enough fuel in, I'll move it up a little bit. Some carburetors, they don't set them level, but a lot of them, level is where they want to be. I've had a couple that wanted to be like this. I've had a couple that wanted to be above level. It's carb specific, and a lot of times that information is hard to find, and you just have to try it somewhere and see if it's right or not, and then adjust it accordingly. If it overflows, make it close sooner. If it doesn't have enough in the bowl, make it close later. And that's all this float, needle, and seat does. It regulates the amount of fuel in the bowl. This is upside down right now, obviously, but it would fall open, and then as the fuel comes up, the floats will float until it closes, stops fuel flow, keeps it from overflowing into the motor or out the drip tube. Pretty simple. We're going to take our gasket, put him on here. Take our bowl, make sure he's good and wiped off. Yeah. What we got in there? I feel like something's hitting because it's rocking a little bit. What we got? Don't really see what would be hitting. There we go. Just must have been grazing something, not quite letting it go down. Get all four of these tightened down, and I'll bring you back here in a while. Alright, now we're over here at the Yamaha. Now this is actually recorded a couple days later than the first part. Got sick there for a couple days and decided not to do much, but I'm doing alright now, so I figured I'd get back at it. I'm going to put the carburetor in here in a minute. I got the slide cleaned up. It wasn't too bad. Then we're going to be putting the air box and air filter back together and putting the battery in it. Probably cleaning up some electrical, and then, well, see if it'll run. We got some new parts here. We got a battery in this box. AGM. Got a fuel filter, a Yamaha oil filter, and a Yamaha air filter. I try to buy OEM stuff whenever I can, especially with maintenance items like filters, because most everything else is cheap garbage that won't actually filter anything, or it'll filter too much and you won't have any oil pressure or terrible airflow. either one is detrimental. So I'm gonna go ahead and get y'all up in the stand and start putting this carburetor back in. Alright, I got y'all on the stand. I'm gonna go ahead and stick this guy back in. Try not to block the camera too bad, but there's not a lot of working space, so I'm sure I will some. I'll go ahead and take the slide. That way you can see that. I can't see the camera from where I'm at. We'll take the slide. This is your idle side. It's got that ramp down in there. The idle screw actually just pushes against this ramp and picks it up or lets it down. And then this is your alignment slot. That just goes up against a little notch inside the carb so this doesn't turn. Now this one is pretty smooth, so I'm going to put it in dry. If you've got one that you've had to clean rust up on, it's not a bad idea to put just a little bit of oil on them. You don't want to put a bunch on them because it can get down in and burn oil through the motor and make it smoke for a while, but probably won't hurt anything. But I've had a couple I've had to put a little oil on. I do not remember how to go into any of this last time. Actually threading in? Yeah. Well, that's just not splitting. It's mild easy if I remember right. And it ain't cross through. I don't know. Maybe it didn't come out easy. Like I said, it's been over a week. I've been sick in between. I probably don't remember. There we go. Snug. You don't want to tighten them down real tight. You're only going into a cast aluminum carburetor, and most of the time, if they're metal, they're brass, and if they're plastic, well, they're plastic. You'll strip them out. Try and get the air. I like these ratcheting screwdrivers. They're a lot nicer than the regular one. At least I think so. That's got all the stuff bolted back on this carb. I suppose I could put some gasoline to it and see if it's going to leak. Got the old fuel tank. I did get the, no, I hadn't got the line off yet. Forgot about that. Go ahead and get the, gotta get this fuel line off first. Then I can go ahead and put some fuel to it. Luckily this tank was empty, so if I put just a little bit through it to flush that, should be okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. The valve don't move. Not going to touch that yet because I'm sure it's going to ruin the seal if it moves right now. Maybe if it gets some gasoline on it, it'll be okay. Otherwise, I'll be showing y'all how to rebuild one of them fuel valves. So I'm going to cut that line off there and go find a new piece of line out in the storage, and I'll be right back. Well, as you can see, I've pulled it off. I did get it to move, but I was wondering why I couldn't get no fuel out of the reserve line. I think that answers my question. This thing needs a severe cleaning, and I believe the faceplate was leaking too when I backfilled the hose. So take it apart, clean it up, and you don't always have to have a kit to rebuild one of these. I'll show you how to do it with just a pack of O-rings, a little bit of sealer, and some power steering fluid. It's not really any cheaper, unless you have all the stuff already, but it's usually quicker. You don't have to wait a couple days for the kit. And sink O-rings will actually work on the O-ring behind this faceplate. Kitchen sink O-rings. They stand up to the gasoline for some reason. But we'll go ahead and put that there and take it apart. These tiny little screws, run them up out. There, that goes to this stuff over here. Now you take and maneuver the well, I say should be able to. There we go. Take the faceplate off, and you'll have a little metal wave washer. It's supposed to be wavy like that. It keeps a little bit of tension on this, keeps it up against its O-ring. We pull this guy up out. He's not too bad, a little dirty, but nothing a light clean won't fix up. That, on the other hand, needs to go in ultrasonic. Actually gonna pull my new piece of hose back off. That's nasty. Pull the O-ring out first so I know what size it is. And this one out in here, not gonna worry about him. Try and pull him out, he's gonna tear. I'm almost certain of it. And I don't know if you can see it. He's flat. He's not sealing anything. We'll just put a little bit of anaerobic sealer on that when we go to put it back on the tank. That stuff will clean off easy next time. It's got to be pulled off, and it'll prevent a leak. These, well, this one was open. I got air to go that way through it. This one's clogged. I couldn't blow through it. Right there is why. Yeah, that's not supposed to be solid. That's this one was about clogged. Those are supposed to be holes. They're not. Jesus. No wonder that one wouldn't flow. Yeah, that needs a severe clean. But you get that cleaned out, and get this, might try and get this gasket out first, because that'll be the one that wants to soak in some power steering fluid to swell it back up. And maybe you'll actually have a selector. If that's dried out or cracked, you'll get fuel all the time. You won't be able to shut it off. You'll either have on stuck or reserve stuck or both, which can be annoying, especially if you have a carb that leaks after a little while. It'll be fine for a little while and then it'll start to leak. But we're going to get that off in ultrasonic. We're going to clean the rest of this stuff up. I'll bring y'all back in half hour, 45 minutes whenever I got it ready to go back together, because it's going to take a minute to clean. And that one O-ring, whatever you call that down in there, I call it the screaming gasket because that's what it looks like. Let him soak in some power steering fluid. See if it'll see if we can save this one, or if I'll end up having to buy a kit. I hope not, because I was given explicit orders to fix this four-wheeler cheap. I'm also already kind of behind on it, so having to wait days for a kit, not real appetizing. So see what we can do. All right, got our parts now that they're clean. It's a lot less greasy, nasty down in there. A lot more clean. The shiny slick you see, I put some oil on that gasket because I cannot get them out, so I put some oil on them, try and help them out a little bit. But there's still a little corrosion down here, but nothing that's gonna hurt anything. This was clogged up bad. There was a whole lot of dirt down in that. Took a while with the peck to get it cleaned out, but it's been washed out, and I've hit it with an air hose, blow it out too. It's good and clean now, or at least a whole lot cleaner than it was. It should actually let some fuel through it. I've also got new O-ring. I've got this stuff cleaned up too. I don't know if I showed that before, but it's cleaner than it was. That's your actual selector. And if for anybody curious, you can polish these if you want. You can Scotch-Brite them and then hit them with chrome polish, and they shine up pretty nice. I've done it on a couple, but I'm not going to do that today. But you can if you want. So we'll go ahead and put this guy back together. First thing I'm going to do is we got to get Mr. O-ring up on there. We also got to have some grease on him, because if he's not greasy, he'll probably tear. So just get some of the grease off the lid. Give it a good wipe around. Try and keep the string out of it. Don't need a whole ton of grease. And it doesn't have to be wheel burning grease. It can be any grease. Cheap grease, expensive grease. Just as long as it's grease. Because it will wash off of there from the gasoline after a little while. But by then the O-ring will be broke in, and the gasoline will act as a very mild lubricant to keep it from tearing. Always struggle getting these on. Well, that one went on easier. Just make sure you're seated down against that all the way around. This one is. So that's ready to go in. That's all I needed the grease for. I just needed a little bit on there. So now we're going to put this in first. Make sure you get him in there the right way. That'll be this way. Now this, with these new O-rings, especially if they're not the exact right one, this is where you can run into a little issue trying to put these together. Because oftentimes O-ring don't fit quite right. But I believe I got that. Yep, feels good. Now we're going to put the wavy metal washer on. Get him put down on there. Get this set straight. And then the little plate. Set him down on there. Take our little screws. Come on now. Get our little screws started back in. Hold these down even so you don't squish the O-ring the wrong way or ruin the crush washer or anything. Run them down back and forth, and be all good. And these are tiny little screws in cast aluminum, so no need to get super tight on them. Just break them. Strip them out. Get it stiff. Wonder if I get him bound up. Yeah, something's not right there. It don't turn. I wonder if I got that O-ring wadded up or if the crush washer is bound. Take it back apart and find out. What's it do if I just loosen it up a little bit so it's not down so tight? That makes it move a lot better. Wonder if I just had it over tightened. I could have. Very well could have. Trying to think of what to do here. I'll blow into it, see if it leaks, I guess. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but no matter what position it's in, there's air flowing through it, so I think I got that O-ring wound up. Or the streaming gasket's bad down inside there, and it's not keeping the air from just going around it. So run these back up out and check. What's the saying? Anything worth doing right's worth doing twice. Something like that. Maybe it's the other way around, but yeah, see, this thing's just not sitting down in there quite level. Aha! Right there is what I did wrong. Got the O-ring out and pinched it. Didn't damage it, but might need to put a touch more grease on him. I might have him just a little too light. Get him back down. Yeah, I don't think I hurt it. I think it'll still seal just fine. Put a little more grease on him. See if that helps. There we are. More greasy O-ring. Don't worry about the little bit down in here. It won't hurt nothing. Come on. See? That's what it's doing. It's trying to push out instead of in. Might have to go down to a small O-ring. I don't know. Oh, there we go, I got it. Sometimes you just gotta turn as you're pushing down. Don't push down super hard or you'll slice the O-ring, but see how it's down in there nice and even now? That's all I did wrong. I had that O-ring pinched up. Should be good now. Although my luck, I damaged the O-ring. Maybe not. Also, my luck, I won't get this plate on her now. Really? Come on, there's got to be a way you'll slide down on her. I don't have to pull that back up. Is this way any thinner? Come on now, there you go. Yeah, it still looks good. Now I'll get the screws back in there again. And put it on the tank. Alright, as you can see, we've moved over to the front rack where I got the fuel tank. I flushed it out a little bit, got it cleaned up, got the seal surface cleaned up on it. But even still, we're going to put a little bit of this anaerobic sealer around this gasket ring. Around there. Sorry, I bumped the stand. This stuff don't come out of the tube real nice or easy. Just gonna put a nice little like bead on it. Doesn't need a lot. Now anaerobic, I don't know for sure what that means, but I assume it means that it stays flexible. Because this stuff never hardens like regular sealer. It always stays just a little bit soft, so it doesn't crack or chip away. I'm sure somebody knows what it actually means, but there we go. Just a light little coating around the whole thing. Go ahead and set that cap back on. I don't want that drying out. Stuff's not super cheap, but tube does last a while. Take the screws. Make sure you put these on the right way. This goes on like that so you can get to the fuel selector. It seems like it'd be a hard mistake to make, but I've made it, so. And I work on these things all the time, so I guess that's some kind of credential. Although, I'm a firm believer of just because you do it a lot doesn't mean you do it right, so. You actually have to do it right to do it right. Seen people do stuff right the first time where somebody else did it wrong 20 times, so. Time doesn't always equal experience. Time plus paying attention equals experience. There we go. That's now ready to go back on the four-wheeler. Hook the line to it, get the fuel filter on it, and well, find out if it's going to work or not. Alright, got the tank on, got the fuel line hooked up. I'm going to put some of this in there, see if it leaks. No need for a bunch. It should be able to get down to the reserve with very little in it. I don't see nothing leaking so far. I'll zoom you all in a little bit here. I don't see nothing leaking yet. Give it a turn. I don't know if you can see it, but I get fuel coming in the filter. Yeah, I think you can see it on there. See how long it flows for and if it stops. Provided the carburetor's right, it should. Sometimes you'll have to tap on the bowls. The floats get a little sticky after a fresh rebuild. And that's pouring straight out. Let me get something to tap on the bowl with. Nope. We'll keep on pouring. Has it run out or has it slowed down? Because it's not pouring anymore. It still drips when I do it. Sometimes you just gotta tap on them a little bit to get them to start moving. They just get, from where they're dry, they get stuck down. And it takes that little bit of a tap and they start moving again. Because it's not leaking now. I'm gonna guess I'll have to pull that back off and adjust it, but maybe this will at least tell us if the motor's any good inside or not. But if they just keep leaking after you tap on them, have to take them back open and either adjust the float or look for damage on something. But that's got a new needle and a new seat, and they're decent quality ones too. So hopefully the parts are all fine. Maybe the float's just a little bit wrong on the adjustment. I did not change it. I left it as what it was pulled out as, but that doesn't mean it ain't been changed before, or maybe the new needle was a little bit different in length. So it's always a good idea to set them, but since I didn't know if it was right or not, I left it. I don't know. If it don't go back to leaking more, I might leave it. If it keeps dripping whenever I bump it, I'll probably take it back off and just barely move that float up to shut the fuel off just a bit sooner. But I guess now it's time to throw some power to this thing and see if it'll crank up. Alright, I got the battery in it hooked up. I'll put that in off camera because it's not very entertaining. Put 2 screws in a battery. But I'm going to go ahead and try and fire this up. Now I don't have an air cleaner in it right now, but I'm only going to run it a couple, maybe 10 seconds, just see if it'll run. I bet it smokes and if it's got any horrible noise. So yeah, guess it's time to find out. Got power? Got ground? Wants to run already. Where's the choke at? Over here. It does run. See if I get it run a little longer. Yeah. It's not very happy because there's no air filter on it or lid or anything. It's got nowhere near the right vacuum, but it does run. So that's a good sign to keep going ahead on this. I'm going to go ahead and get the air filter ready to go on it now, so I can see if I can get it to sit and run for a couple of minutes. But that's a good sign. That means we got spark, we got compression, and it didn't blow a bunch of smoke, so hopefully we don't have a bunch of oil leak or seals bad in the motor. Because usually they'll smoke pretty bad immediately if they do, but it also didn't run that long, so it might still smoke. But it does run, so. Alright, I got the air cleaner in and the lid on. Gonna see if it runs any different now. It ain't really been leaking none, so maybe the float works too. Actually, one thing for it. It runs a bunch better already. I'm sure it's cold, but. it runs. It doesn't run too bad at all. It definitely needs a little bit of tuning on the carburetor. Main thing I noticed is that wandering idle. I kept having to turn the screw down and down and down. That might just be it was up so high, and I keep having to turn it down as the motor's starting to loosen up, but it runs decent. It smokes some. I don't think you could see it from where the camera's at, but it was blowing a little bit of smoke. Nothing too bad. Alright, I've got the air filter all the way on and the air lid on. I've done some other little minor things to this, cleaned out some stuff, cleaned out the air intake and everything, but it's time to see about tuning on this motor a little bit and also to see if it'll start again. So we're going to do that now. Alright, it's been running a minute or two now, and I just hit the throttle here a minute ago off camera, and this thing runs pretty good. I don't know if I'm going to do much any tuning on it. That's not bad at all. That's pretty responsive, and it's not choking or coughing or anything, so I don't know as I'm going to do anything to it. But before I make that call for sure, I'm going to get it out of the shop here and ride it around a little bit and see how it acts under load. Because just because they rev good idling, or not idling, just because they rev good sitting in neutral on the floor, don't mean they're going to run right when you're actually riding them around in the yard or up a hill. So I'm going to get some stuff out the way and get this moved out and see how it'll run. Runs pretty good under load. Doesn't pop, doesn't bang, doesn't backfire, just takes it. It's running clean. I don't see any smoke. It runs good. It's got power. about as much as I'd expect out of a 250. I think it's ready to get put back together. Put the plastics on it and the seat on it. I'll keep it a few days and run it a little more, just make sure, but I believe this thing is good. This thing runs good. I'll bring it back in the shop here and put the plastics on it and the seat on it. But that's going to do it for this video. I'm not going to bother recording putting in 4 bolts because it's putting in 4 bolts and the plastics on. But as you can see, it's if I can get the camera to zoom in here, it's not leaking. There's might be one little wet drop under the carb, but that's not uncommon with these shaking around. But it's I think it's good. So if you enjoyed watching this, stick around. There'll be more episodes sometime, and if you didn't, you'll find somebody else to watch.